Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Pod. I'm Brandon Mileski, Pat Micheletti with me, and Beyond the Pod is brought to you by SodaStick.com and Culturama. We're now joined by Minnesota Wild Goaltender Alex Stalock. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to make you think early in the morning, and I know that's dangerous given your child situation with a newborn at home right now. But I've never quite understood, and Pat and I have talked about this, why Minnesota is so good at developing hockey players from a skater standpoint. But the goaltenders have never really matched, the skaters. You're one of the few exceptions to be an NHL goalie from Minnesota. Do you have any theories as to why Minnesota is so good at developing forwards and defensemen, but not as much at goaltender?
I've thought long and hard about that. Why there is not a ton. And obviously, growing up, I was lucky enough to go to Rob Stauber's goal crease and do the training there. And at the time, Stauber was one of the guys that Minnesota goaltender, obviously won the Hobey Baker and played at the University of Minnesota and played in the NHL. And that was kind of the name as far as Minnesota goalies that everybody knew, at least my era. But I think it's slowly developing more. The position, obviously, your individual skill coaching and all that stuff is obviously light years ahead of what it was 20, 30 years ago. But I think right now, obviously, I think maybe, we finished the year. I say we, but Minnesota goaltenders, we finished with close to 4 in the NHL with obviously Jake Ottinger backstopped Dallas all the way to the Cup Finals. Hunter Miska obviously had a crazy recall story going up to be with Colorado in the bubble, and then obviously Charlie Lindgren in Montreal. So there's 4 now, and obviously working now with the guy in the summer, and we sit down and talk that's the conversation piece all the time is why is there not more Minnesota goalies?
Well,
I don't have a great answer.
Yeah, just thinking back to way back, your former coach Sandlin and I obviously played together, but in high school, no goalie coaches. Even in college, I think my first couple of years, we didn't have a goalie coach. Frank Pietrangelo, John Blue, guys like that. It was like, okay, stop the puck. That's your job.
We still hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. But, the one guy, I'm sure you remember this name, Warren Strello, was the guru for that 1980 team and, good friends with Herb Brooks and that whole crew. And Warren, the big Warren, he was the guru back then.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Warren because lucky for me, I was drafted by San Jose, and
that's right.
Warren had very close ties with San Jose, and my first goalie coach in San Jose, Wayne Thomas, who was very, very close with Warren. A lot of my drills that I did, or philosophies of the position, was Warren Strello stuff, and so I got a kind of a taste of what Warren was like. I never actually dealt with Warren one-on-one. I went to his goalie school when I was really young at White Bear Lakes rink. And they would fly San Jose's goalies out to Minnesota. And they would skate here actually at White Bear rink. So, that was back when San Jose had Nabokov, Toskala, and Kiprasov in their organization, at the same time. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, he was one of the camps that I went to as a young kid too.
Before we get to the Wild, I don't know if we talk enough about where you came from and the traditions and of South St. Paul and the number of great players. I was lucky enough to play under Doug. His first year at Minnesota, but talk about what the city of South St. Paul meant in the tradition and the players that you followed growing up and just what it meant to you.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually skating right now at Doug Woog Arena, which used to be when you were playing. Obviously Wakota Arena.
Yep.
I'm getting ice down there, and actually I'm skating with Jake this year, Jake Ottinger, and we have a goalie coach that we're working with, and it's it's funny, you go down there and I joke around with these guys, but the amount of banners that are up in the rafters and just the history there and the time of hours and minutes that not only I but like my parents and everybody's parents put in to go down, and that was like that's what you did in Sault Ste. Paul. And
Yeah.
you just, like it was always the question, like it was whether it was at school or wherever you were, it's like, what time are you going down to the rink today? Because it seems like everybody had practice, It's a lot different then, I guess, than it is now with how hockey was set up. But you had squirts, peewees, bantams, ABC, and that was your team, and everybody skated the same day. And the meeting point at the end of the day was always Wakota. That's kind of where you finish the day off, and it's where you learn to play hockey. And now it's funny. It's I go back there and still learning how to play hockey, and I'm going down there, and it's the same old rink. It's just Doug Woog Arena now.
Isn't it funny? That since we're talking about arenas, a kid you're familiar with who you're going to play against this year, and Scott Perunovich, right from my hometown, Hibbing, All-American Hobie Baker candidate, winner. So this past summer, he gets his picture put up in the arena, and and I went back, and Kevin McHale went back, and some other players that whatever. And it was just we were having a conversation. I said, you know what, remember this. This is something you'll never. This will probably be your biggest accomplishment 25 years from now. Because it's your home. It's your home. It's your friends. It's it's where we grew up playing.
You take a lot of pride, and it's funny. I would just I get back to Sault Ste. Paul mainly. The reason I go is Wakota Arena, and whether it's skating or going to watch a high school team, and now bringing my oldest boy to go see what high school hockey is all about. But just the other day, even just driving through town, driving past your old house, and it just, it's just so different being, we only live 20 minutes from there, and obviously it's different for you, but just to go back and, so much stuff you just remember as a kid, and it was just, it's pretty cool anytime you get to go back and go on the rink and see. Obviously, the teams that made it to the state tournament that you were on, or teams that you grew up watching, pictures of them, it really is incredible.
Well, let's talk about your season you just had with the Minnesota Wild. You'd kind of taken the reins as the number one goalie before the COVID break. You have the long break, and then I don't know if coaches are lying to us or not, but they made it seem like there was a competition for the starting position at goaltender going into the playoffs, and you played all 4 games there. How would you evaluate the season you had last year? Kind of taken over as the number one guy there.
Yeah, it's obviously I was fortunate enough to play in a lot of games, and I think any goalie you ask, consistency is huge, and that's getting in every night. And the unfortunate part was the reason for going in. Obviously, with Devin and the health issues in the family is you never wish that upon anybody, but your job as a backup is to be ready to go at any time, and obviously that happened, and got a chance to go in and play a lot of games, and you get that confidence where you're going to go back in the next night, and I think that helps too. Where you say you don't have your best one night, you're probably going to go that next night, and you need to bounce back right away. Where say sometimes you go in and you got the pressure to you want to win that game, and you might not play for 2 weeks, and the ability to play every night, I think you ask a player that they just keep momentum rolling. And, for me, I was lucky to do that this year. And, it was keep the confidence rolling and string some wins together.
How, I've always wanted to ask this question because I always stayed away from goalies because you guys are crazy, right? But, it's real important that, you're always looking for team culture and keeping the team together and all that sort of thing. And then we have, the backup goalie.
Right.
But that role, obviously, when you started the season, it's very important. How do you keep, because you want to play, you're competitive. How do you keep, that relationship with your partner, and to, keep things smooth?
It is. It's a unique job, obviously, where there's only 2 of you and there's one crease, right?
You're right.
And one guy's playing every night. But it's not that you're accepting your role, but you know what you bring to the team, right? And that's a hard part, not for only goalies, but that's for forwards, defense. Young kids coming in, like everybody's a star in college or high school or whatever it may be. But when you get to the next level, it's hard to accept, hey, I might not play as much. Might not play as many minutes. And I got to figure out what I'm good at and what I bring to the team. And I think for me, it's obviously playing on a nightly basis is huge for me. But I'd love to play every game, and I think any guy would love to play 82 games a year. But hey, you know what? Realistically, at the end of the year, you're not going to be able to do that. So when you're not in the crease, when you're not playing, and when you're not actually contributing on the ice, what can you bring off the ice? And I think that's so huge. And you've both been in locker rooms that's a key part. And I enjoy that aspect of it just as much. When you can't help on the ice, what can you do off the ice to help the team actually put wins in the in the win column?
Well, you said there's 2 guys, 1 crease. There might be 3 this year with
Right.
Cam Talbot being signed in free agency, and then a young guy in Capo Kakinen. So, one, have you chatted with Cam Talbot at all? Reached out to him, and then 2, how do you feel about a young guy kind of coming in? Obviously, you have to compete for your role and for your minutes.
Absolutely, and yeah, no, I did. I've exchanged texts with Cam quite a bit. Actually, obviously welcome to the team, and then just questions here or there, and if he needs any help, obviously being here, I feel like I could help him if he has any questions in that regard. But from what I've heard from teammates that he's played with, awesome guy, and that's all positive. So as far as the third goalie, I'm wondering, obviously, if teams are going to do that this year with the unknowns of schedule and who knows if, obviously 3-3s is what we played in the American League. I don't know if the NHL would ever introduce that with what we have for a calendar and schedule wise, but I'm wondering if teams are going to carry 3 and once we kind of get the logistics of everything, if it makes sense to have 3 on the roster for this year.
Yeah, well, regardless if it's the 2 of you, we saw during the NHL playoffs. You need everybody. If you're playing that amount of games and it's grinding.
Right.
And you need everybody if you're going to win.
100%. Yeah, I think you saw obviously teams that use depth not only at the goaltending position, but guys throughout playoffs that scored big goals for teams that were depth guys.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's guys that played that maybe weren't playing during the break, and it's a depth league, that's for sure.
Well, when a new GM comes in, it's kind of expected some change is going to happen. You guys have had major changes to your team this year. Eric Staal traded, Mikko Koivu not brought back. Obviously, Devin Dubnyk, Luke Cunnin, Ryan Donato, all gone. So how does that feel from a kind of a culture locker room standpoint to just kind of have the team kind of uprooted a little bit? And, do you feel like a message is being sent? Or, I guess, how do you interpret that?
For sure. And, it's there's been a change at that position here for a couple of years now. And obviously, Bill understands that something needs to be done. And, obviously the prior GM, lasted a year, and Bill sees that our owner here is committed and wants to win. So he realizes that, hey, I need to do something here. And obviously it's not easy. Mikko Koivu is, like me growing up watching Wild hockey, Mikko Koivu was the name that, and I got lucky for me. I got to spend years in the locker room with him and learn from him. And Eric Staal, 1,000-point guy, Stanley Cup ring, and those are never easy moves. And, Bill came in and he's decided, hey, I whether I want to go younger or whatever it may be. And, it's what we have in the locker room. He's putting a group together that we believe, obviously we've lost a ton of talent, a ton of years and experience. And, we've gotten younger, but this is our group, and we're motivated. We were a playoff team last year. Obviously we got in to an expanded playoff rule, but I think that gives the team confidence,
Sure,
to say, hey, we were a playoff team, and to get right back where we left off is hopefully the goal, and hopefully that's soon.
So how are you doing right now? As of today, on this date, we'd be a month and a half into the season, and there's still unknowns. You still don't know when you're going to start up. Hopefully January 1st, but how are you keeping sharp? And, are you keeping in contact with the rest of the guys? How is that all going since we are where we are?
Yeah, it's we've kind of got prepped for it, actually, Pat, just from obviously the bubble. It's kind of the same thing of the unknowns, and then like all of a sudden it was like, bam, here's the details, and we're going. So obviously we had abbreviated training camp, but I think they saw maybe that we have the capability of doing that. And normal preseasons are about a month long with 7 preseason games, and they get to be a bit long. But I think it's different now, where guys come in and they're almost in the best shape of the whole year at training.
Right. Right.
And so for us, I think guys, they work so hard, and hockey specific, and trainers and specialty coaches they're working all summer long. Where we come into camp, guys, there's no like getting into shape.
Yeah.
You're in shape and you're going, And
now we used it. That's what we used camp for, right?
That's why it was called training camp. I don't even know what,
right.
Guys, it's crazy. Guys come in now and it's, there's full speed right out of the gates, which is great. You get to work right away. But yeah, so I'm skating, obviously, like I said, down at Doug Woog Arena now and working with a goalie coach and then obviously getting off-ice workouts in and kind of waiting to hear the word and go from there. Obviously, today's a big day in Minnesota. We'll hear today what's going on, but
right.
Yeah, anytime we get the go ahead.
We got about 2 minutes left with you, Alex. I got to ask you some cliched questions before we go.
I knew they were coming.
Who has the best shot you've ever seen? Which player's shot gives you the biggest challenge?
Man, cliche answers too, or what?
Sure. That's all. That's what I expect from you.
But no, I mean, obviously Ovechkin has. We played against him late in the year, and they ended up beating us at home when we needed to put in points. He had a few goals that, obviously, you don't get to play against these guys all the time, and you watch them on TV, you see these goals going, and you're like, wow. I mean, there's a chance that guy could have stopped that, but now all of a sudden you see it in real time, you're like, holy cow, maybe that guy probably couldn't have had that. But he's got unbelievable ability to fire that puck from anywhere, whether it's in his feet or behind him or ahead of him, rolling puck anywhere. He gets it on net, and obviously that's the reason he's got how many goals he has.
All right, one more. Just given you're a very unorthodox goalie, right? Size-wise, your ability to play the puck better really than anyone I've seen. Which goaltender did you look up to as a kid?
Marty Brodeur, obviously, was a guy that I loved. Fortunate enough, I got a signed stick from him, which was pretty cool early on in my career. And he just played the puck, and he was kind of the same way. Just made the save when it mattered, tried to make the last save and win games. And obviously, he's got the most wins in NHL history, and it's coming down to making that last save, really. And he was a competitor and played the puck, which I loved. He made the game interesting, and hopefully they take the trapezoids out soon.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
I was
I think it create more goals, honestly.
Yeah.
At this point,
I became a huge Devils fan after the North Stars left. So I had Marty Brodeur posters on my wall when I was a child. So, Alex, really appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you hopefully on the ice at some point soon.
Very soon. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Alex.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah,
See you guys.
appreciate it.
Minnesota Wild goaltender Alex Stalock. He's awesome to talk to. We could have literally chatted 4 hours with him. But Pat, before you and I have a conversation about hockey, why don't you tell us about one of our sponsors on Beyond the Pod, and that would be Culturama.
I will, Brandon. Culturama. Ever been told your hockey playing child has what it takes to be the next big superstar? Does he or she stand out? But are you unclear how to obtain exposure to meet that goal? At Culturama, they cultivate, collaborate, and connect you with opportunities to advance your child's athletic career. They offer firsthand knowledge on how to become your child's momager or dadager. Or for those who are looking for specialized services, Culturama is here to help. They will personalize a strategic plan, develop PR and media kits, build and or manage your child's brand. Follow, like, and subscribe to Culturama today to learn how to get started.
All right, thank you, Pat. Let's talk about. We actually have some real hockey that we're going to be able to watch.
Yeah,
soon. Starting tomorrow.
Did you see?
Oh,
I'll be there tomorrow night, and college hockey's starting for our Golden Gophers tomorrow night. So
row the boat, Skyuma, go Gophers.
Yeah, there you go.
Obviously, we had some Big Ten games last week, but Gophers host Penn State tomorrow night and Friday afternoon. That'll be at 3M Arena at Mariucci. You can hear those on Twin Cities News Talk AM 1130 and FM 103.5 and iHeartRadio. And I think predicting hockey with the way the offseason has been is impossible to begin with.
Yep.
But let's try our best, given this is a program that has kind of owned the Gophers over the last couple of years. They were going to play each other before the COVID break ended. You have a Penn State team that is still ranked in the top 10, but lost a lot of its scoring. You've got a Gophers team you have a Gophers team that leads the NCAA in returning goal scoring. 93 of their 100 goals return to this year's team. So what's kind of your expectations for what's going to play out in this series here?
Guarded optimism. We can get mesmerized by names and, because guys have been around for a while. But that being said, you still have to get it done on the ice. There's guys like Sammy Walker, McManus, Ben Myers, Sample Ranta, that, need to elevate their game. They need to go, as Bob has told us a week ago, from 30 points to 40 points to 50 points. And you have to do it. So I think they're going to be really good on the back end, young, but the talent with Ryan Johnson, number 1 pick of Buffalo, I think, he has the chance to be one of the better ones to come out of Minnesota. So there's optimism. They've got to get good goaltending from Jack LaFontaine, who was really good at the end of the year. So again, I'm going to go into it with guarded optimism. It'd be nice to get off to a good start against Penn State tomorrow and Friday. Penn State lost a lot of high-end players off their team, and I'm actually kind of shocked that they're rated so high in the country. But what polls are at the beginning. So
yeah. The pairwise is the only poll that matters.
Exactly. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing these guys tomorrow night.
We were just talking with Alex about how training camp, players at the professional level are ready to go immediately. It's not training like it used to be. From a Division I college standpoint, because of the uncertainty of the schedule and the delay here in the season, have they not been practicing together longer than they typically would for a season? Meaning, we might see a more polished play here to begin right out of the gate.
Well, I know they've been taking.
I know the schedule's been off, but yeah,
and they take a week off. And hey, anytime you start the season, you're really excited. So automatically out of the gate, I think you're going to see a nice jump in energy. How long will that last? How are they playing? Plays with your mental psyche a little bit. So, I'm tempered in how I think they're going to come out tomorrow night. I hope they come out with a lot of jump. It's going to be an empty building, something that, they haven't played in front of before. I know the jokes are coming, but so it'll, I think it's all going to be a mystery tomorrow night.
Now they're returning a lot of their scoring. They are adding some young pieces, though, especially on the blue line. Brock Faber, Carl Fish, Mike Koster, Paul Martin, as we talked with Bob Motzko, working with some of those defensemen. And what a
Can you imagine
wealth of experience to have a guy like that who's played in the NHL as long as he has. What do you know about any of those guys and maybe the kind of roles they're going to be able to play? Obviously, it's always uncertain how a freshman's going to be able to jump right in the lineup, stepping up to college hockey.
Yeah, Koster, I think, is more on the offensive side. I think Faber, who was also a high draft pick, I think it went in the second round, maybe to San Jose, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, his assistant coach on the national development team said at his age he was the best defenseman in the world. Okay. And that's pretty high praise. He played against everybody's top player. That being said, he's got some upside offensively that, just because of the defenseman that they had there, didn't have to play that role. So I'm excited to see him play. Fish, I don't know a lot about, other than the fact that he's a little bit older, which is helpful. Has some experience in the USHL, and we'll just kind of give him one of those nuts and bolts guys that every team needs.
All right, the top six, forwards returning from a scoring standpoint. Can you maybe give me a guy that you would expect maybe a big jump out of that we're not expecting, or someone maybe that was younger and didn't play a whole lot, maybe they get a bigger role now? Who's someone that you could see maybe jumping up and elevating their game here this year?
I think Ben Myers, for sure. He is he was a beast a year ago. I mean, in terms of his maturity and strength, he can really skate. And I really think that, he may end up by the end of the year being their best forward. I know teams wanted to sign him at the end of last year, just knowing what his potential is going to be. So I think he has a real good chance of being the top forward for Minnesota this year.
Did you see any of the Big Ten hockey action last week? Michigan swept Arizona State 8-1, 3-0. Wisconsin beat Notre Dame 2-0, 5-3. Did you see any of those games? And if so, what was your take out of those?
Caught a little bit of it. Michigan's awfully good, awfully talented, awfully young. It actually surprised me that, Arizona State, that they thumped them so bad, because Arizona State's got a more of a veteran team. The expectations were high for them. But Michigan is really, really talented. Wisconsin, on the other hand, really surprised me that they almost played a shutdown type game against Notre Dame. The first night shut them out, and Dylan Holloway, who's a number 1 pick of the Edmonton Oilers, now is going to be lost for a month as he's going to the Canadian national junior team to train with them, which obviously is not going to make Tony Granato very happy, but that's the way it is. So they're going to be losing probably, might be their best forward.
Yeah, Holloway scored 2 goals in that series, 2 big goals towards the end of the games to kind of secure the victory for Wisconsin. The eventual game winner, the go-ahead goal in the 5-3 game, and then the second goal in the first game. He was one of those players. When I was doing draft preparation, he's a center, so obviously
played left wing a year ago. So,
but had interest in him. He's one of those guys that physically is like built right now to play in the National Hockey League. Just super strong on his skates. Big kid. Not really sure what his high end potential is, but obviously a good start there with a Wisconsin group that's got some talented forwards such as Cole Caulfield as well.
Yeah, no question. And, and Wisconsin's been a program where, under Tony Granato, they've gotten a lot of really good players, but none that have really, haven't seemed to be able to gel and play as a unit and as a team. And maybe they're getting off to the right start this year.
Make sure you go to sodastick.com to get your original Minnesota sports inspired goods. They just launched. Hold on. Let me get in front of the camera.
Yeah, let me see. Woo.
They just launched their partnership with Michelob Golden Light. For the Mick Golden Light Hunting Club merch line, the logo features a bottle of Michelob Golden Light with deer antlers. They've got it on blaze orange shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. So make sure you get geared up for your hunting season. If you haven't seen it yet, you got to check it out. And we're going to hook you up with free shipping on your order. Just use the code KFAN for free shipping. That is sodastick.com. Original Minnesota sports inspired goods. Use the code KFAN for free shipping. I'm also wearing a Soda Stick hat, the Met, which is a very cool hat. All right, let's move on to the National Hockey League.
Yes.
Let's talk jerseys, Pat.
Yeah.
They released their reverse retro jerseys. The Minnesota Wild taking on your former colors in the National Hockey League, the Minnesota North Stars, but they have it with the Wild logo. I want to know your thoughts on the Minnesota Wild retro jersey before we move on to the rest of the league.
The green and gold is near and dear to my heart. I thought they looked great. I really did. It's almost too bad to a certain, a certain part of me would have loved to see those colors again. Unfortunately, they couldn't go that route. But I think the jersey, I think they did a great job on them. I really do.
I love the colors. Obviously, there's a little nostalgia there because of the North Stars, which makes me wonder, why can't they switch to those colors? And I know I know they've kind of separated themselves from the North Stars and wanted to do their own thing. But it's not like the current Dallas Stars have those colors. So it's not like you're now copying what your former franchise is. They've moved on to green and black. They've moved on to a different thing. I think the green and yellow is it looks cool. Other than when Edina wears it, but other than that, it looks cool. It's very unique. I would be all for them just saying, let's move back to these colors. I love them.
I think people would too. I think the fans, at least from what I've seen, absolutely love them. I think it would bring back more fans too, just to see those colors on the ice. I think it would be I think it'd be wonderful. But hey, we'll get to see him a couple times this year, right?
Now here's my one critique on the
Yeah.
jerseys. And I've never been a huge fan of the bear head logo. So I feel like the rest of the jersey looks cool, and I'm kind of iffy on the logo. I just I understand you're trying to have.
What do you do, right?
Well, I felt like this could have been an opportunity to create your own
Minnesota or
make a new logo.
Yeah.
And make it look retro-ish. And if you like it, maybe you keep it in the future. I don't know. I just feel like the Wild head logo on a retro jersey just looks. Just because the Wild aren't retro, right? They're not a retro. They're not a retro team. They're not a retro franchise. They've only been around for 20 years. So if there was one small little critique, that's the only thing I would say. How about the rest of the league? Which jersey did you like the most?
I mean, they're all different, right? They all have their own uniqueness about them. The New Jersey Devils, obviously, I've always liked their colors, their old colors, and their old uniforms. So I kind of like them. And the Rangers are always the Rangers, right?
Yep.
So I would go with those.
Now I've always loved the Hartford Whalers. That's been my favorite logo in sports. My favorite uniforms. Yeah. So I mean, it was a pretty basic Hartford Whalers type look. So it's not like a super special jersey, but
it's still the whale, right?
It's still the logo. So I love that one. I thought the LA Kings one. I think they knocked that one out of the park with the king crown and the purple and gold. I think that looks super cool.
Yeah, those the old days of Marcel Dion and Charlie Simmer and that line. But those were I love those colors. I wish they'd bring them back for good.
All right, Pat. The NHL Network came out with their top 20 centers in the National Hockey League. I want to see how yours compares to the list I'm currently looking at.
Okay.
And I'm putting you on the spot here, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are.
I didn't give you any time to prep. So just for people listening and watching, just let them know that you did not get this information ahead of time, which is basically every show we do. I just put you on the spot.
I love
it. Number one center in the league.
That's a really hard one. In terms of overall talent today, Connor McDavid. But if I'm going to pick a center who I want to win a Stanley Cup, it's still Sidney Crosby.
They've got Connor McDavid at number one. They have two others in front of Sidney Crosby.
Austin Matthews probably, and Nathan McKinnon.
Nathan McKinnon, number two. McDavid's teammate in Edmonton, they have at number three, Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, you know what? He great player. Don't get me wrong. And you score 50 in the league, you're awfully good. But to a certain degree, he flies under the shadow of a McDavid, right? And even
though he just won league MVP, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And maybe he won't anymore. But he had a couple of years to really hone his game. And listen, you're out there, you're watching Connor McDavid and not so much Leon Draisaitl. Now you will a little bit more, and people know how good he is, and he was certainly deserving of the MVP of the league. I listen. You can't go wrong with Draisaitl, McKinnon, McDavid. They're all just phenomenal players.
They got Austin Matthews at number five. Number six kind of gets my antenna up a little bit. I want to know what your thoughts. Jack Eichel at number six. Clearly a talented player who was drafted very highly in the draft and can produce some points, but hasn't shown he can be a winner in any way, shape, or form, or be able to integrate himself with other players. I think Eichel's one of those where I think two different people could have very different opinions on.
Me, he rubs the wrong. He just rubs me the wrong way. Talented, can do a lot of things, produce, but doesn't win. I don't know if he engages well with his teammates. I think that's awfully high. I really do. Because there's more to it than just being a talented player. There's other facets of the game that you have to be good at. And, I know McKinnon bleeds it, right? McDavid, drives him crazy not to win. Crosby, right? And so that's what I look at.
Number seven, Patrice Bergeron, obviously a very good.
Take him any day of the week, right?
He's a 200-foot player, Pat.
200-foot player, scores big goals. You know, if you're the 23rd guy in the room, you get treated the same. You want to talk about an ultimate leader and a great penalty killer. Yeah, I take him on my team.
If you pull all 31 GMs in the league and eventually 32 here in the next year,
yep,
the vast majority of them for this season, maybe all of them, are taking Patrice Bergeron over Jack Eichel.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
No, I understand now. You know, if you want to look forward to the future and he's younger,
right.
whatever. But
we're not, right?
But we're. I think this is a top 20 centers right now, and I would.
Yep.
I think they'd all put Bergeron ahead of Eichel. Evgeny Malkin at number 8. Maybe a guy who's emerged in recent years, Braden Point of the Tampa Bay Lightning at number 9, and obviously he was good in the postseason.
Oh, is he awesome? I mean, a treat to watch, and he was in the scoring. He was making plays every game, almost every shift. You'd hear point. When you don't hear your name, or you don't hear a name watching a game, they're not a factor. He was a factor.
Number 10, I know you're going to like Mika Zabanerjad from the New York Rangers.
I put him ahead of Eichel, no question. I don't know if he gets what he deserves. I mean, I think his last game of the year, regular season, he had 5. And I mean, he's just a tremendous player.
The back half of the top 20, Alexander Barkov, number 11, Mark Scheifele, Winnipeg, number 12, Sebastian Aho, number 13. I think this name jumped out at me at number 14 because at one point I think he was considered a top 5 guy, and to see him at number 14 surprises me a bit. John Tavares, Toronto.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people, he puts up a lot of points. He's not a great skater in a skating league. Very smart. You might want to question whether he's overpaid or not now.
Sure.
At what he's making in Toronto and the results that they got him to win a cup, and now they're at a point where their cap situation is they have to get rid of a lot, some pretty darn good players. I'm not surprised that he's fallen to where he has.
Number 15, Ryan O'Reilly of the Blues. Number 16, we saw the Wild eliminated by the Vancouver Canucks, Elias Pettersson. Number 17, Stephen Stamkos, who won a cup with barely wow. That team won a cup without one of their top centers. I always struggle saying this guy's name, Sean Couturier.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Flyers at 18, yep. Matthew Barzal at number 19, and Anze Kopitar hanging on at his age.
Well, let me
number
just
20.
Say this. In regards to Eichel, the last 10 that you named would all go ahead of him for me.
Wow.
I would take any one of those players ahead of him.
Wow. Strong statement. And then, Pat, I look forward to 3 years from now when we're doing this, when we talk about Marco Rossi on the top 20 NHL centers.
10, Brandon. Top 10, Brandon.
Top 10.
Your pick. You got him. No,
all right, Pat.
That'll be fun. Have a great week.
Really appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week. We'll actually have hockey to analyze next week. We can analyze Gopher hockey next week.
And tune in tomorrow night with Frank Wally and I on 11:30 a.m.
Awesome. Look forward to hearing you.
Take care.
All right. Thank you, Pat. He's Pat Micheletti. I'm Brandon Mileski. This has been another episode of Beyond the Pod. Really appreciate it. It's been brought to you by Soda Stick and Culturama. We'll join you next week. Hopefully you'll be listening and watching on Beyond the Pod. Bye.